Hi guys, my name is Christine and I'm a dating, relationship and personal development coach. And today I'm talking about your ex will always choose you if you do this, okay? So basically, what makes the difference in an ex wanting to come back to you as opposed to one that wants to get further and further away from you? I believe is emotional strength, like how you deal with the breakup, how you deal with your ex after the breakup, your attitude, things like that, right? So I believe you have to stay emotionally strong during the breakup, especially if you feel like you really lost someone good and you're trying to get them back. You're trying to find a way that you can convince them that they've made the wrong choice, right? So one of the ways you can do that is to remain emotionally strong throughout the process and to essentially become indifferent, right? To become indifferent towards their actions, right? It doesn't mean that you're mean, because if you're being mean and hateful towards them, then that shows that you care, right? It really shows that you care. Like if the things that they do irritates you and you let them know that, then you are essentially showing them that you care a lot, right? Even if you're caring, even if it's shown in a more sort of like hateful, aggressive, perhaps way, right? Or a mean way, right? So it's not that, right? And there's obviously the other side of that as well, where people care too much and they're trying to do too much. They're trying to convince their ex to come back with them. They're apologizing all the time. They're listing reasons as to why they should come back, trying to really try and make something happen. That is showing that you care too much, right? And you're trying too hard. Okay, so the idea is to be in the middle, right? To be indifferent, to be emotionally strong about it, right? So what this means is that you kind of need to have a little bit of a take it or leave it attitude with them. I always say when someone breaks up with you and you don't want the breakup to happen, you have to say something like, okay, well, you know what, that's fine. If you want to leave, you can, right? I'm not going to try and stop you. I obviously want to be with someone that loves me, and if you don't love me anymore, then you're free to walk away. And kind of like having that attitude of you are free to choose whatever you want to do. I'm not going to make you stay. Right? If you want to go, then you go, right? I want someone who wants to stay. So that's kind of like what you have to, the kind of energy that you need to put across. That kind of indifference, that kind of take it or leave it sort of attitude, you see. So how can you then do that then? So how can you start? Because at the moment you might be like, well, I don't know how to do that because I really care. I care so much. So how can you get to a place where you start to care less, right? And again, when I say care less, I mean that it doesn't mean that you don't care about them at all. It doesn't mean that you're mean to them. It doesn't mean that you're cold to them or anything like that. So one of the ways that you can do this is you start to see the breakup as a gift, right? As a blessing, right? Because maybe it is a blessing in disguise. Maybe this was what was meant to happen so you could have a better life for yourself, even if it doesn't feel like that right now, okay? So what this helps with is being able to let go, right? So even if it sucks right now, even if it hurts right now, it's always best to see these things as a blessing, right? And usually, from what I found from my own experience, these things usually are blessings in disguises, right? Even if you, like I said, even if you don't feel it right now, even if you feel like it sucks and it's the worst thing ever to happen to you in your life and you're heartbroken, maybe a few weeks down the line, maybe a few months, it could even be a few years, one day you're going to look back on this moment and you're going to see that this was exactly what was meant to happen. Now, not everyone has that attitude, right? Not everyone sees it that way. Sometimes someone can let a breakup consume their life so much that they let it ruin their lives, right? And I've seen experiences like this happen, not so much in this kind of context, but in different kinds of contexts, right? So I know a pair of sisters who grew up with an alcoholic father, right? And one of them chose to become an alcoholic. The other one chose to never let that kind of thing ever enter her life at all. And she would never let her children go through that experience, right? Of having, a turbulent household, right? So as you can see, there's the same people, same environment, exactly the same father, completely two different outcomes, right? So you always have the choice to see how, to how you're going to view things and how you're going to take on things. Are you going to let this ruin your life? Are you just going to let it be like one of those situations like, well, I lost my partner, that's it now. I'm just going to sit, watch TV and eat pizza. They've ruined my life. Things like that, because a lot of people do have that attitude, right? Or you can see it as a gift, see it as, okay, so maybe it's a wake-up call for you. Maybe like, okay, maybe I need to sort some things out of myself. Maybe I need to get my fitness in check. Maybe I need to learn some things about dating and relationships so I can become more attractive, so I can find someone better. Perhaps I need to read up on some personal development type things to help me heal from this. Perhaps I need to get a therapist to help me heal from this, right? I want to become better. I want to improve, right? So you always have that choice. You can improve upon it, you can learn from it, or you can let it totally consume your life. And I know so many people who unfortunately let themselves slip because of these harsh things that happen to them. Now, I'm not saying that it's not bad. It's not a bad, it's not like it's an easy situation to get over. It's not. It's difficult. It takes a lot of work, right? It's not an easy thing to go through, especially if you really didn't want it to happen and you feel absolutely heartbroken and crushed, right? But people have gotten over it. If other people have gotten out of it, have improved, have made their lives better because of it, and there are people who have done that, who have really done a 360 on their whole life, basically a 180 on their life, and they've completely just changed and become better because of these tough experiences. There are people out there who have gone through perhaps the exact same situation that you've been through now, right? And they've improved and they've got better and they're happier and they're more wealthier, or they're more fitter, or they've got someone better, or maybe even they got their ex back because they improved these things, right? And they improved their overall happiness and their life and things like that. And they've done that, and and because they've done that, they're actually a lot happier. And when they look back on the breakup, they think, oh yeah, that's exactly what I needed. That's exactly the medicine I needed to shake my life up a bit so I can now be living the life that I'm now living, which is a lot more happier, a lot more fulfilled, and I feel so much better, right? You can have that choice. You have that choice available to you, and you can choose that. You can see this as a gift, as a blessing, or you can let it totally consume your life. Right? So that choice is always up to you. And if you have that attitude, right? If you have the attitude of, I'm going to see this as a blessing. Obviously, for some reason, this had to happen. I may not understand it right now, but maybe I will understand it in the future. I'm going to focus on myself, focus on healing, and I'm going to focus on creating a better life for myself so that this hasn't all happened in vain. And if you're focusing on that and you're no longer focusing on your ex and trying to convince them to come back, and you have a right, okay, take it or leave it attitude, then you're more likely for them to come back into your life, and you will feel indifferent while that process is happening between now and your ex coming back. You will feel more indifferent towards them because you've decided that you're going to let them go, right? And because you've let them go and you're not fighting for them anymore, they're going to question it. They're going to wonder, why is he or she not trying with me anymore? I thought they were going to beg for me to come back. I thought they were going to fight for the relationship. But instead, they haven't done that. They're trying to better themselves. In fact, they seem to be getting on better without me. What's that all about? What's going on with them? It really looks like they've changed their life and they're trying to improve. And maybe that's all that they wanted. Maybe that was the reason they broke up with you. They just wanted to see you, go for your dreams and the things that you wanted in life. And maybe that's what's going to reattract them. However, of course, if someone really has decided that they no longer love you, and no matter what you do, you won't be able to attract them back, then you probably won't be able to attract them back. Because sometimes people can fall so out of love with their ex-partner that there's just no way they would ever get back with them. And that may be the case for you. But the thing is, at this current time, you don't know what they think. You don't know how they feel, right? You can guess, but again, that's just you filling in the gaps. That may not actually be reality. So it's best to focus on this anyway, because if you're too busy focusing on your life, trying to improve it, seeing this as a blessing, trying to get better basically, if you do that, right? You're going to feel indifferent towards what's going on with them, because if you're focusing on them, if you're worried about what they're thinking about you, if you're worried about if they're ever going to come back or not, then that's keeping you stuck, and that's making you care even more, and it's going to make, and it's more likely for you to actually start making mistakes, right? Like you message them at like 12 o'clock when you're drunk or something like that, or when you're feeling emotional and lonely. But if you're focusing on these other things, trying to create a better life for yourself, trying to get better, right, then you do have this indifference because you're focusing on something else. You're no longer focusing on them, right? And if you're not focusing on them, and they can sense that you are, so you've sort of checked out basically, and you're not interested in trying to convince them either way to get back with you, then they're going to wonder about that, okay? So what I will say then to you is, then if they do come back, will you want them back, right? Sometimes it's a good idea to look long and hard at the relationship that you was in, because sometimes it's just the fact that someone has dumped you that makes you want to get back with them. The fact that it's like the quote that Tony Robbins says. He says, you know, rejection breeds obsession. So we always become like a little bit more like, you know, sort of like, I really like them when someone rejects us. And I remember having that experience even as a teenager when I liked girls and I asked them out and they said no. I'd like them even more because they said no, right? So it's one of those things, right? Sometimes we can't help but feel that way. But you have to look at the relationship. You have to look at especially the last weeks and the last months leading up to the breakup, because no doubt you wasn't having a great time, right? If that's what was happening, right? If the relationship was falling apart, right? You was probably arguing a lot. There was probably a lot of tears. There was a lot of finger pointing, a lot of blame, you know, all that kind of stuff. It was probably a really nasty experience. But the thing is that people rarely think about that, right? When they're trying to get an ex back, they think about the beginning of the relationship. They think about all the good times. They think about the honeymoon period, right? They're not thinking about those last couple of months. And I know that because I got back with an ex who treated me really badly, right? I wasn't a saint 100% of the time because I was still young myself, but they cheated on me. Right? They cheated on me, and our lifestyles were just so different, and the things that we wanted in life was just so different. And I broke up with her, and then I got back with her because I was too busy thinking about the beginning, how great things were at the start, and I wasn't thinking about how I felt when I found out that she cheated on me. Where the arguments that we'd had, and all that kind of stuff. I wasn't thinking about that. I was thinking about the good stuff, and a lot of people do that when they're going through a breakup and they're trying to get their ex back. They're focusing on the good things, right? But you have to focus on the bad, I think, with just more than what you do with the good stuff, right? Because that could be what you're heading back towards, right? And usually when two people get back together, right, they realize that things haven't changed, even if things are good to begin with, because there's great makeup sex, or all that, everything's lovely, the passion's back, and everything feels really, really good. It's like it's like when you first met, because it sort of kind of feels like novelty and a bit fresh. But eventually you slip back into your old habits and you fall apart again, and then the breakup then happens another time, whether that be within a matter of a few days, a few weeks, a few months, or even a few years. So you got to realize, do I want this person back? Do I want to waste more time in that relationship? Now, if you believe that you lost someone good, if you know that they're a good egg and maybe this breakup happened because of a huge misunderstanding, and you really love them and care about them, and you know that they're a good person and they haven't done anything to you that's really bad or anything like that, then yes, maybe it's a good idea to try and reattract your ex. But if it's not that, if there was a lot of arguments, if you didn't know how to communicate with each other properly, if things just were bad and there was a lot of arguments, a lot of blame, all that kind of stuff, then it's probably not someone that you want to get back with, okay? So that's the question you need to ask yourself. Will I want them back? Will I want them back? So thank you so much for watching. If you would like to get in touch with me personally and you'd like coaching with me, then please go to www.christineloveridge.com, and I shall talk to you again very soon. Goodbye.